You don't have a clue where I can find Ryu Hayabusa?
No one knows where a ninja goes.
When I was a young kid, Ninja Gaiden 2 was a game that was practically lodged inside my Xbox 360. The original game, released almost 2 decades ago, helped to shape and form my taste in video games and my love for the action genre. Whether it be the game's frantic and visceral combat, the high acrobatic moves of Ryu Hayabusa, or the unrelenting difficulty of it all, there were many reasons why I played it over and over. But I haven't gone back to it since then. Even though the game would go through many different remasters and re-releases, those newer versions just weren't the same. With the difficulty toned down, changes to the game's combat and bosses, and the blood magically gone, many fans, including myself, felt that the original had been overtly sanitized. This is why the latest iteration, Ninja Gaiden II Black, is so refreshing. Shadow dropped on January 23rd of 2025, with the announcement of a future Ninja Gaiden 4 in the works. Ninja Gaiden II Black signals a return to form for the legendary Dragon Ninja. Hi, my name is Jay, and welcome to Good Games Dude. As you can probably tell, Ninja Gaiden 2 is one of my favorite games ever made. And even though I haven't gone back to play it after all these years, playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black was like riding a bike. The game never left me. However, I'm not gonna pretend like the original or this remake don't have their own fair share of problems. There is no shortage of other YouTubers and gamers out there willing to tell you just how quote-unquote incomplete or inadequate Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is in comparison to the original. And when compared to today's gaming standards, there are some areas where it does fall short. But in my opinion, there are so many great and unique aspects about Ninja Gaiden 2 that make it a necessity to play, blemishes and all. So yes, this video will primarily just be me gushing about this game for 30 minutes straight, with a few caveats here and there. But I also want this video to be a celebration of one of the best action games of all time and its surprising return. So no matter if this is your first time jumping into this series, or if you know the Azuna drop input by heart, join me as I talk about why Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is worth playing. For those who don't know, or maybe you weren't around at the time, there's a reason why the Ninja Gaiden series is so revered. Originally rebooted by Team Ninja with director Tomonobu Itagaki at the helm, Itagaki was a highly influential developer known for creating high-octane games like the Dead or Alive series, and for extreme bouncy volleyball action. Action games like this are a bit rare these days. Nowadays, this genre has been primarily replaced by Souls-like games that put a bigger emphasis on defense, methodical timing, and careful study of enemies. But Ninja Gaiden is a series where players are zip-zapping around the screen, getting flooded with a bajillion enemies, trying to move the camera in just the right position to see everything, and also pressing a million different buttons, not really knowing what all the combos are. But hey, it looks cool and you're having fun. While Dark Souls is known as a series with punishing difficulty, Ninja Gaiden did it first, and was a game back in the day that, if you had beaten it, earned you respect from all the other baby gamers. Let's talk about the biggest and most important aspect of this game, the combat. Action games like Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, and Ninja Gaiden take pride in their fast-paced, frenetic combat. And no one does it better than Ninja Gaiden 2. The character Ryu Hayabusa has a number of crazy and over-the-top weapons at his disposal, like a long bow staff, nunchucks, tonfas, and his classic katana, all with their own unique moves, combos, and playstyles that make each weapon worth using. Part of the fun is switching back and forth, finding the right tool for the right situation. And each encounter is highly varied throughout the 6 to 8 hour campaign, with multiple bosses ranging from the large to the gigantic, ranged battles, and tight-knit hallway fights. There's no time for the player to really catch their breath.
Stop!
Your death will atone for generations of indignities. The bloodline of the Dragon Ninja ends here.
That brings me to this game's difficulty. Ninja Gaiden's difficulty comes from how many enemies are thrown on screen. And these enemies can be brutal and relentless, with many able to take a lot of hits and also hit back at every second. It's not all button mashing, as players will have to dodge and defend, especially at higher levels. Enemies can shoot rockets, absorb hits, and even grab players who rely too much on blocking. But I do have to admit that the difficulty levels seem to have been watered down from what I remember. In the original, even just the normal difficulty setting was challenging and resulted in me dying over and over. It wasn't as difficult as Ninja Gaiden 1, striking that fine balance between fun and frustrating. But Ninja Gaiden 2 wasn't a walk in the park either. For Ninja Gaiden II Black, I played through it on hard difficulty, looking for a similar experience. But even on hard, I died less than 10 times and one-shotted 95% of the bosses. Again, there are others out there who could probably provide more evidence as to why this is, but I felt that this version provided too many health items and save points that restored the player's health and lessened boss damage. I remember going into the final boss of Ninja Gaiden 2 with just one small healing item. But here I went into it with a full stock, and with more than enough items to get me through the fight easily. I get that the developers want to make the game more accessible, and yes, die-hard fans can just switch the difficulty to something much higher, but I also wish that the developers made it more explicit as to what difficulty was more true to the original. Sure, make it more accessible for newcomers, but also make it more accessible for those wanting the hardcore experience that Ninja Gaiden is known for. Speaking of alterations, Ninja Gaiden II Black does remove and also brings back a lot of major features that make it closer to a definitive experience. Gone are the large Titan bosses that were added in Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma, like the large Buddha statue at the beginning. These fights didn't add much and, if anything, felt to me like they were out of place. And returning for Ninja Gaiden 2 Black are the game's guest characters and tag missions. For players like me who haven't played Ninja Gaiden 2 in a while, these guest characters are such a welcome addition and make going back to play these games worth it. Even though Ninja Gaiden 2 is already so varied in terms of weapons, settings, and enemy types, the three guest characters, Ayane, Momoji, and Rachel, just add even more spice and flavor to the game. Ayane, my DOA main and one true love, excels in ranged combat with her explosive kunai. Momoji has great range and aerial moves with her naginata. And Rachel has a giant hammer that whenever hits an enemy, just goes bonk. 10 out of 10 sound design, no notes. Each guest character gets only one playable mission in the main story, but is also playable in the tag missions. Two characters team up against hordes of enemies, making for visceral combat moments. While these missions alongside the game's time trials are only side dishes to the campaign's main entree, they are fun added features that, again, highlight the game's main strength: combat. Newcomers might complain that there are too many enemies on screen and that the camera often gets in the way, with no ability to lock on to enemies. But I think that's the point, and also part of the game's challenge. The challenge is keeping track of all the enemies, and finding time to look around and place the camera in the right spot. And I haven't even commented on how well the game looks and runs. With updated lighting and models, utilizing Unreal Engine 5, the comparison between the original game and Ninja Gaiden II Black is like night and day. It brings it up to the standards of what we'd expect from a game released in 2025. And the game is capable of a stable and buttery smooth 120 frames per second, meaning that the game won't slow down or buffer amidst all the action. And how great is it as well that the game isn't censored anymore, with the blood and dismemberment brought back. Normally I don't advocate for this in other games, but for Ninja Gaiden it added to the realism of the combat and gave it that classic, ridiculous B-movie type feel. In a world full of Souls-like games, where the main mechanic is rolling around trying to dodge attacks, it's refreshing to return to action games, where players can just press buttons and do cool things. Yes, it's possible to nitpick on these games for things like a somewhat lacking story, or even smaller stuff like missing costumes. But at the end of the day, it's about how these games make the player feel. And Ninja Gaiden 2 provides that insane adrenaline rush of 100 enemies versus one master ninja. Let's not forget that before this announcement, Ninja Gaiden was dead and buried, never to be seen again. And the action genre was almost MIA, with many of the defining series finished and all wrapped up. With Ninja Gaiden 4 and Team Ninja collaborating with Platinum Games, the future of this action game pillar looks positive. I can't wait to get my hands on Ninja Gaiden 4 later this fall, as Ryu Hayabusa leads the charge for the rest of the action genre, which is why I recommend playing Ninja Gaiden II Black. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like and a comment down below telling me what is your favorite game in the action genre. I'll be happy to check that out. Also, be sure to subscribe for even more on the best that video games have to offer.